Hello, everybody. My name is Zertoku, and welcome back to our last shoe hunt video for tonight. I do have some other videos I would like to react to shoe, but those will have to wait. But we're back to the pedo nonsense, or should I say? We'll just say this is the Gooner series, and I would like to still can give my opinions, but I think I've already said my opinion, so I'm probably just gonna mostly let the video play. Probably. I'll stop if I feel like I need to say something.
God has allowed me to live for one more day, and I'm going to make it your problem. So I found a thing, and I must tell you about the thing. When I see a thing, you gotta see a thing. That is
Okay, bring it on.
That is what you signed up for.
Yeah.
When you hit subscribe. That and also like one video a month, but we can't always get what we want now, can we? Now some of you might
what's your problem? Should you not able to make videos or something? Whatever. Just
actually already know about this, but I just discovered it sort of recently, and I really wanted to talk about it. Prostasia, a website dedicated to the protection of children. Sounds great, right? Who would be against a website dedicated to protecting children? What is wrong with you, Shoe? Well, many things. However, when you first look at the website...
I like the fact that she admits that there's something wrong with her. You know, actually, to tell you the truth, I probably would have done the same thing too, because there are some things wrong with me too, so...
It looks like a good thing, but the more you read, the more you go, Now, before we get started, everything I'm going to say here is alleged.
I'm interested.
I'm not making any statements. This is based off of things on the website. This is based off of things I have read with my own two eyes. So if you have an issue, take it up with my lawyer. Okay.
No, sure, I'll take it up with your lawyer. I give bunny cuddles.
With that out of the way, 3, 2, 1. Recently, Prostasia created a map support group. So if you don't know what a map is, I have a plethora of videos about maps. I will link the playlist below. But a map is a minor attracted person. It is a politically correct term for pedophile. So yes, this whole ass organization is using the word map. We went from maps being a niche Tumblr thing that people sort of laughed off as a joke to this in 4 years. But put a pin in this because we will be, unfortunately, coming back to the
just
map
start talking about it, Chew. I'm already getting
in this video.
kind of like
Prostasia
bored.
believes the best way to prevent child abuse, the solution to pedophilia, is acceptance and normalization. Now, I personally believe there are several different solutions to pedophilia. 9mm, 20mm, 40mm.
So your solution to pedophiles is to kill them. I'm going to say right now, I know that forced sexual assault is bad, but I feel like death is a little too far. I think jail time, life in prison is good enough. I don't think. I feel like, yeah, I feel like life in prison makes more sense just because at that point they're gonna die anyways because you put them in prison and they get killed. They're just gonna get killed by other people who hate pedophiles. But also on top of that, if you do that, they will actually torture them before they die, which is the proper punishment for sexual assaulters. But there's also, like I said before, the difference between sexual assault and like people that consented and like get blamed just because that person so happened to be younger than they thought they were, or they liked each other and society didn't accept them, which is, you know, it could be either or. It's 50-50. I did have a whole thing I wanted to talk about. Um, Actually, now I do remember. I do not like the pedophile rules because that I seen too many times of people being accused to be pedophiles and they're not. They're just being accused by their rageful ex-wives. I've seen that too many times. And there's also people who are autistic who did not understand that going to the bathroom near a school can be considered pedophilia. And there's there's that, and there's also people that do have autism that are way worse than me. Uh, Mentally see themselves as children, even though physically they're not. There's that issue there too, and that makes them considered pedophiles. And I feel like putting them in jail, those people in jail, or killing them is the wrong way. That's why I feel like instead of I feel like getting rid of the pedophile rules, we should make more rules stacked on top of it, so the right people are, like dealt with and not like first thing we need to do is make a rule where uh children themselves can't technically can't consent, but their parents and guardians can sign a document for consent for them, for someone who's older than them, so that person can either take care of them or be intimate with them, so that no one can be arrested or whatever. But the parents and guardians still have the option to say no, and that's where basically you're giving people the freedom to say yes and no, and that's what we need to do with that. Also, there should be a thorough investigations of people who are labeled pedophiles, because some people are not actually pedophiles, they're just being labeled as pedophiles even though they're not. So that's what I have to say about that.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. If this was a website, if this was an organization actually dedicated to like helping these people get therapy, helping them get set up with real therapists, I wouldn't care. That would be.
I hate to tell you, Shu, but no amount of therapy is going to change someone who has a fetish, because it's something that's wired in their brain, which means the only way to change that is you would have to rewire their brain, which is very, very dangerous, because you could cause, severe damage, because we don't fully understand the human brain. So it is very dangerous to do that. And also, we should be very careful on messing with things that we do not understand, and actually need to learn a little bit before we start doing things like rewiring people's brains so they don't have those fetishes. But
Great, that is what we want. Like, we want these people, like, sort of away from society. We want them away from children and getting help.
But that's also saying that they're not allowed to be in love neither, which is bullshit.
But this ain't that. Oh, this ain't that. You see, Prostasia is not recognized by the US government as a child protection organization. There are no professional therapists involved with this whatsoever. Professionals who work in child protective services have completely dismissed them, and childwelfare.gov does not list them anywhere in their thousands and thousands of child protective organizations. But despite all of that, it's literally tax exempted. It is a tax exempted pedophile club. So it's a church. Just kidding. My Catholic family is not going to like that. Just kidding. I love Jesus Christ.
That explains a lot.
Spirit, give us a daily bread.
That explains why she is basically Carrie's mom. I feel sorry for Shoes child because she's probably gonna get whipped a lot, and she's not gonna be able to have anybody love that child anyway. She's never gonna have a significant other until she's like 40 or 50 years old.
Visible trespassers. In July 2019, PayPal ceased its
and therefore she will not have grandchildren.
Relationship with Prostasia because it apparently violated policy on transactions involving, encouraging, promoting, facilitating, or instructing others to engage in illegal activity.
Okay, I don't know what any of
Lil
that means.
sus. Now, all over their website are words like free speech and sex positivity. Like, they recently had some webinar, and I'm not even joking.
Well, free speech is a good thing. The sexual thing, I don't know what to make of that.
This is what it was called.
Safe words and red lines. I have no idea what that word is. Can in child. No idea what that word is. I don't. I guess there are some red flags up here, but it's just mostly just because of like they're trying to. It sounds like they're trying to go against the pedophile rules and try to abolish it. Like I said, I'm against the idea of abolishing it completely, but you know, let's just.
Prostasia tries really hard to roleplay as this like hip, modern, inclusive organization, but at the end of the day, they're just another NAMBLA. They're just another Lincoln project. Now, at this point, you're probably thinking, Shoo, this isn't that bad. You know, maybe their heart is in the right place. Keep watching. An advisor to the Canadian Centre for Child Protection had to say this about Prostasia.
Are there any Prostasia campaigns that don't undermine online child protection? They claim to be a child protection org, but it's hard to find an issue where they err on the side of actual child protection. Prostasia doesn't have a victim focus, full stop.
The goals of Prostasia is very clearly to protect the feelings of grown-ass adults. That is their top priority.
That sounds like a good thing, actually. It does sound like their heart is somewhat in the right place. Somewhat?
But they have other priorities. Another thing they advocate for is the legalization of drawn CP. Now, I don't really know where I stand on this. Drawings are not real. Just like fantasy or roleplay or whatever, nobody's getting hurt, and the main concern is children being hurt or exploited. Whether looking at material like that is harmful, that's like a whole different debate, a whole different video. But like, look, I can literally draw a stick figure right now. Ready? Let's give her big milkers. There we go. Awooga, right? Well, she's under 18. There are federal agents at your door. But another battle they are fighting is for the legalization of child.
Like honestly, there's one of the things that makes it really difficult for anime because there's a lot of like underage romance stuff. And I have no problem with that because it's all fantasy at the end of the day. But people seem to have an issue with it, and I feel like people need to grow up. That's all I have to say about that.
Sex dolls. Recently, some mother had to fight to get a doll removed from being sold because it was based on her 8-year-old daughter. And another focus of theirs, and I'm not joking, is to abolish the sex offender registry. Now, why would
that's when they're going a little bit too far with those two things. You do not make sex dolls based on somebody else's daughter without their consent, and we also should not completely abolish the pedophile rules because there were a lot of people who were hurt by actual sex assaulters. So the rules are there to those laws are there to protect us, and earlier, yes, I gave some examples where that rule is also hurting people in a bad way. But that just means that rules need to be changed a little bit. It doesn't need to be abolished. It just needs a little bit a little bit of an update, basically.
Prostasia want to abolish the sex offender registry. Well, let's talk about who runs Prostasia, shall we? Who is behind this organization? In May 2020, somebody asked the founder of Prostasia, Jeremy Malcolm, if they accepted self-admitted pedophiles as volunteers. Jeremy Malcolm replied, "We don't make a policy of asking people about their sexuality before they are allowed to volunteer."
Well, to be fair, a lot of companies are like that, and honestly, I think it should be wrong for like therapists, therapy companies that have their therapy employees. They should not be gay or lesbian or anybody part of the LGBT community, just because those people are not good at helping people with loneliness issues. They're so much more worse, and the things that they promote, so they should not be. But the thing is, though, our society is either too accepting or too non-accepting. It's one or the other. There's no like in between, a value, and there really should be shades of gray here to help make a better society. In order to build something good, you need different shades of gray in order to make something good. I said enough.
Right. The Council of Ghouls consists of convicted sex offender Guy Hamilton Smith. And they also had convicted sex offender Jeff White on board for a while. So I think we figured out why they want to get rid of the sex offender registry. By the way, when a family lawyer called into question Jeff White's sketchy history of, child diddling, the family lawyer received threats from Jeremy Malcolm, the founder, that basically said, "You leave us alone, we'll leave you alone. Capiche?"
For people who want to abolish the pedophile thing, that's the wrong message to send, because it's like they're trying to say we're separate from the government, so as long as the government leaves us alone, we'll leave them alone. However, that's not going to work if you're trying to abolish. That's like declaring war on the United States. So, that's
and
my
after
opinion.
that, they apparently stopped disclosing who works for them. They stopped disclosing the staff, the volunteers. It's a big mystery now. But don't worry,
Just checking
it's
to
not
see if I'm
all
recording.
convicted sex offenders. They also have clinical psychologist Dr. James Cantor, who had to say this.
Speaking as a gayman, I believe we should include the P. To do otherwise is to betray the principles that give us our rights.
Why am I even asking that question? I was about to ask, why does the pedophiles want to be on the side of the LGBT community? And then I stopped and realized, wait a minute, gays and lesbians are pedophiles. So, what am I doing? What am I doing? That's a dumb question. Sorry, guys.
For the last f***ing time, gay, male, male, lesbian, female, female, bi, female, male, pedophile, adult, child. It has nothing to do with gender. It has nothing to do with sexuality.
No, not really. It's more of a fetish versus sexuality that I can agree with.
Children can be male or female. Pedophiles can be straight, gay, bi.
That I will agree with.
As the CEO of bisexuality, we disavow. But, I know this is a weak comparison, but seriously, this would be like making any one of my sick fetishes part of the LGBTQ alphabet.
Yeah, I could see how.
Yeah, guys, we need to add S to LGBT. Lesbian, gay, bi, trans, spit in my mouth. It's not how that works.
You can't sit with us!
But they also had a nice woman named Sheila who worked with them for a little while, and she had this to say on Christmas, December 2019.
Merry Christmas to everyone, including the Nepiophiles, pedophiles, hebephiles, and ebahebephiles who have to put up with people like blank, virtue signaling and perpetuating stigma every single day of the year.
Now, if you are a normal person, and therefore you do not know what a Nepiophile is, a Nepiophile is someone who is attracted to babies.
That makes no fucking sense. Why? I know I talked about baby faces in like in an earlier video that I did today about her thing. Like, I can understand being attracted to, like, say, like, you know, a 12-year-old girl because they have, you know, the curves and the tits and, you know, especially if they have a very healthy looking body. I can understand that. But a baby? That makes no fucking sense because babies mostly look the same, for one, and for two, they're not capable of yeah, you know, you know what I mean. You know, they're not capable of reproduction, so it doesn't make logical sense.
Hold on one second.
Okay. What are you doing? What the hell?
So
I'm pretty darn sure a lot of people want to do that for different reasons, but yeah, whatever. Okay.
where does their funding come from? Well, cryptocurrency. Of course.
What?
But also, get this. Amazon Smile. You could literally select them as a charity on Amazon. So while I was doing my sleuthing around...
What the hell? Amazon is funding these guys? Yeah, you're not stopping them because Amazon is making millions of dollars.
At
So
4
you're
a.m.
not
like a
gonna stop
fucking
them.
freak, high off adrenaline, just absolutely on my QAnon grind.
I'm gonna say right now, just based on what I've seen so far this video, I neither hate them nor that I like them, just because their heart is in the right place, but they're doing like the wrong things. This world's fucked up, dude, and I don't think we're gonna fix it.
I actually found the director of the organization. Meet Noah Berlatsky, the main character of this story. Now, our friend Noah has some interesting takes. Pedophiles are essentially a stigmatized group. Certain people get designated as deviants. People hate them. Yes. And parents are tyrants. Parent is an oppressive class.
I hate to say it, but he's not wrong about that part. That part he's kind of spitting. But the reason why pedophiles are hated is because a lot of them force themselves onto little girls and little boys constantly, and a lot of them get killed because of it. It's very horrible, and that's why I say that, you know, the pedophile rules do need to be changed a little bit, but they don't need to be abolished, but regardless. And he's right about the parents being tyrants because there's a constant like brainwashing thing that happens with parents, and you know it, it's a problem, especially when children are not in the right mind state to defend themselves. Usually they have to wait until they're a certain age where they can like be rebellious. But the thing is, because of their rebellious state and their parents constantly being tyrants, they wind up pushing their children too far away from them and wind up making, the most insufferable people that you can imagine. And that's part of the reason why our society is the way it is.
Like rich people or white people. He also wrote a few
Racist.
blogs on the Prostasia website.
Child sex workers' biggest threat: the police.
Okay,
Of course.
let's back up for a second. There's no such thing as a child sex worker, Noah. That's called a human trafficking victim. This one is called The Science Behind Adolescent Autonomy. Should a 15-year-old be able to vote? Should a 13-year-old be able to decide when to go to bed? Should a 16-year-old be able to decide to sex with their significant other? Should a 12-year-old be allowed to choose what to eat and what not to eat for dinner? Rather than
It's been so
outsourcing
far.
our ethics and ill-informed readings of neuroscience data, we need to acknowledge that the real corrupter of judgment, of kindness, of tolerance, is power. If we refuse to let young people advocate for themselves, or refuse to grant them bodily autonomy, it is not because there is something wrong with their decision-making capacity, it is because there is something wrong with ours. Therefore, let me
I wanted guys to take you back to my old time. There was a TV show called Gargoyles, and it was a TV show that was made for kids, but it's very dark and has a lot of like subliminal like adult messages almost in it. And Disney refuses to accept Gargoyles for the reasons that it is a dark philosophical series. And the fact that that show and some other kid shows are being scrutinized, especially nowadays, goes to show that parents want to brainwash their children into this lovey-dovey squishy bullshit that they think that children should be, and that is wrong. And I feel like, yeah, and I noticed it didn't go anywhere. It didn't go below 12 because once you reach between the ages, somewhere between the ages of 10 and 12, you start to get into that rebellious phase, like I said. But you also start to become more acceptable to have a more adult setted mind. Matter of fact, I remember watching RoboCop 2, and there's a scene where RoboCop's brain has been altered to appeal to children, and there's this child who's playing. There's these group of kids who are playing with the fire hydrant, and then the RoboCop shuts it off and tells them that waste makes haste and stuff like that. And as they talk with RoboCop, to say there's something wrong with you, which is a very adult response, and it kind of goes to show that we underestimate children. So children have like I said, as soon as they get around like 10 or 12, that's when they become acceptable to have a more adult mindset. And that's when I think it's acceptable for them to have, not only girlfriends, but also to have intimate relationships at that point because they feel adult. Not to mention, I'm not exactly sure if this is true or not, but between the ages of 15 and 16 is usually. Actually, you know what? No, that's incorrect. I want to. and that's the thing I want to say. Between the ages of 15 and I want to say 29, between those two ages, we are more fertile at that point. Once it goes beyond 29 and we get into our 30s, that's when our ability to procreate starts to decrease. And I swear to God, freaking parents and like Christians don't want us to have significant others until like we're 40 or 50 years old. Which by that point we can't have children. At that point, we're basically our eggs and sperm are done for at that point. And this is the part of the reason why there's so many lonely people out there is because of this propaganda garbage that's out there. And I understand there's a lot of like sexual assaults that are going on out there, but you know, I didn't stop and think about this until now. But I realized that maybe because that they're doing this is because there's a very suppressive sexual propaganda. Like it's very oppressive. Like we're telling people that they're not allowed to have sex, and because of that, people get horny to the point where they feel like the only way that they're going to have sex is if they force themselves onto somebody, even though that they probably don't want to do that. And that's probably what's happening for maybe I would say 20% of the time. But most of the time, it's just because people are sick in the head, in a way. But like I said, the people that have fetishes that you're not going to change them to therapy. You're going to have to rewire their brain, which you kind of can't do that without causing severe brain damage.
Touch your children. No f***ing idea what he's getting at here. The echo chamber of alt-right conspiracy theorists and sexual conservatives who wield the stigma around pedophilia as a potent weapon to undermine the progress of the LGBT movement. So it is true that years ago and still today, pedophilia was used to fearmonger about gay people. And all gay people aren't pedophiles, obviously. But
okay, I will agree to it to a certain extent because not all gays and lesbians are attracted to younger groups, but I say that there is a large majority in that community that are attracted to younger people. I'm pretty darn sure of that.
Here's the flaw in what you said. You are. Wow, look at all these crazy conservatives calling the LGBT community pedophiles. Isn't that f***ed up? Well, yeah, but what does that have to do with you?
So I also just found out he's written something about how Bernie Sanders has to be nicer to the liberal elite. That's just funny to me.
What the fuck?
Then I was thinking to myself, why does this Noah dude's account look so familiar? Turns out, he's the fucking journalist who got mad at me like a year ago for criticizing the Netflix movie Cuties.
Audiences hate it because there's a moral panic right-wing campaign targeting it, fueled in part by racism
I just did that
and
video
sexism
today.
directed at a black woman filmmaker. Wrong. Leftists like ShoeOnHead and Vosh are critical of the film. ShoeOnHead is a notorious alt-right asshole. Also, you just tagged 2 aggressive, horrible accounts. Please delete that tweet. You're putting people on the thread at risk.
Oh yes, and that reminds me, do you remember this guy who said I was too mean to pedophiles?
I feel that only at around the age of 4 are children perhaps able to consent to sexual acts and
Go to jail! Well, he got arrested. All my haters are demons, may they not see the gates, amen. So let's go back to that map.
If you come after me, Shu, for the things that about this whole pedophile bullshit that you're bringing on, yeah, I'll gun you down. Not really. I don't know. I think I would lose my mind if I saw Shu in real life. But regardless, though, I just think this whole thing that she's talking about here is kind of dumb because she's not considering the feelings of children, which is not right.
Support group. Let's read a little more about it. Community rules. 1. You must be committed to never engaging in sexual activity with a child. Well, f***ing organization already broke rule number 1. But anyway, rule number 2. You must be at least 13 years old to join this chat. In case you missed that, 13 years old. So that means there are whole ass adults who admit they are attracted to children in private chat rooms with children. I'm going to commit a war crime. I am going to commit several war crimes.
I'm sorry there, Sue, but I don't see that you have the gall to do that.
So here's a screen cap of
yes, I'm calling you a coward.
In said chats. What's your age of attraction? Little boys are perfect. I think 1 to 7. Mine's 1 to 10. As long as it's before puberty, pretty much. Just an innocent support club dedicated to protecting children. My f***ing ass. Hey, so I'm actually editing this video right now, and while I was collecting screen caps, I saw an address at the bottom of their website, and so I was curious, and I Googled it, and I swear to fucking God, right across the street from the building, listed on their website, is an elementary school. There's the elementary school, and there's the building. There's their building. Right across the street from the building, listed on their website, is an elementary school. There's the elementary.
Ah. Okay, so that's what she's talking about. Yeah, I can see this being a problem.
And there's the building. There's their building. There's the elementary school. 200 feet away. No, really, what the f*** is this? You couldn't even write this. I don't like it. Sorry, I don't like it.
You probably could.
I don't like the vibes. Bad vibes. They have a forum. Let us now go. Read the big-brained discussion. I commonly hear the phrase, insert sexual activity, should be legal, as long as it's done between consenting adults. What does Prostasia think about the possibility of instead using the term consenting persons? Consenting adults is an unrealistically exclusionary term. But changing subjects, do you know the age of consent here in Brazil is 14 years old? That's an interesting fact, isn't it?
That is very interesting.
No. Wow, there's another Brazilian here at the forum. I didn't know. What's going on, Brazil? Pedophiles are usually friendly and happy. Sometimes they do things they shouldn't, like breaking some law, but they usually try to reduce that to a minimum whenever possible. Oh my god. Ped means child. File is lover. File doesn't actually refer to pure sexual. Cope. Officer, you don't understand. I am in love with the 2-year-old. Did you know that even the sex offender registry is based on the stranger danger propaganda? The stranger danger propaganda is this: very ugly, repulsive, hairy, fat, antisocial male who has no social life, who lurks around schools and gives sugar candies to children so children can follow him. Yes, the stranger danger propaganda is behind the sex offender registry. These registries are based on emotion and fear, and outrages for isolated cases that were propagated and exaggerated.
People say that those things don't exist, and you know what? They did exist at one time, but they don't exist very much anymore because they know that that's become a common thing for people to look for, at least in terms of cops. But yeah.
By the media. So people thought that kidnappings, rape, and abuse were everywhere. The fact that whole laws, registries, fears, and ideas are based on this stereotypical boogeyman simply proves that pedophilia is nothing more than a baseless fear. Why
That's not true, but whatever.
do people have problems admitting that pedophilia doesn't exist? and it's entirely made up concept that's used to describe sex between adult people and young.
Alright, listen up. There, mister, or whatever kind of fucked up person you are. Yes, pedophilia is a made up word, but here's the thing. We made it up and in order to give a word to describe a someone who's breaking the law. Because okay, stop and think about this for 1 second. The term serial killer did not exist at one point. There was a time that people did not understand the concept of serial killer. It wasn't until later, upon bringing people in that has committed multiple murders, where the serial killer. My point is, a word didn't exist at one point, and it didn't, and therefore it is something that we humans made up. Doesn't mean that it's something we should get rid of. I still feel like pedophilia is a dangerous concept because of sexual assault, and people seem to mix up the concept of pedophiles, and that's why a lot of people want to get rid of it. It looks like, and like I said, if we change the rules a little bit more, we would be having this problem.
Young people, obscenity laws, in and of themselves, should be abolished. I personally think that non-offending pedophiles could become part of the LGBT community. Adults are often touch deprived. Our workplaces are conscious of sexual harassment, and society has broadened culturally. Our need for touch is often fulfilled by children. The belief that pedophiles are sadistic abusers by nature is deeply ingrained in law enforcement culture. I don't know about everyone else, but when someone tells me, insert person here touched a child, my reaction is...
That's, weirdly enough, that's my same reaction for the most part. But I would be like, did the child ask?
Okay, if touching a child is a crime, then every parent should be in prison.
They're kind of spitting, but I don't know. I feel like there's too much mission context. You gotta have like a full explanation of like did the child in question want it? Did they ask for it? Was it a touch without permission? You can't just invade people's space without asking.
Got him! Where would you want to live? My answers are Japan, Germany. Hard choice between Japan and USA. For some reason, I've thought about this, and it's been a factor in deciding where I want to move, even if I have zero plans on doing so. Well, I'll just go ahead and tell you guys, lol. Also Japan. Moving to Finland. It's not Japan, but it's so much easier to move to Finland, since Finland is pretty much the Japan of Europe when it comes to their laws. So that's nice. Anyway, thanks and good luck.
Remember what I said earlier that I don't know if I said it in this video, but I said that outside our country. No, it was the cuties video that I did just before this, where I said, outside the U.S., there's people view sexual ages a little bit differently than we do here in the U.S.
To you all, unlike most anarchists, I believe that the concept of age-based hierarchy can and should be abolished. On Twitter, there appears to be a large amount of people who support making it a felony to look at children in public for sexual arousal. I'd like to see them try and stop me. I think we have lost the war. What war, you may ask? The war for sexual rights, of course.
Yeah, I hate to tell you, but you lost that. Yeah, we lost that war a long time ago.
They can't understand that pedophilia is an entirely made-up word. They can't understand that a majority of rapes are made by someone the child already knows.
Yeah, but if the child in question didn't ask for it, then that's force. That's against freedom.
Rapes in quotes. The sheer audacity to use this Holocaust poem
Okay. I don't even know what this is.
In defense of pedophilia? Unparalleled. Why are MAPs any more likely to commit criminal offenses? MAPs love children. They don't hurt them. I was a minor when I first started talking to MAPs on the internet. Wholesale hatred of men who admit attraction to teenage girls is a sickness of modern society, in part caused by homosexuality and interracial relationships.
Okay.
Progress isn't made by appealing to the ruling class.
That's kind of spitting, I guess.
The you mean ruling class? The ruling class are pedophiles like you. Why do you think Jeff Bezos?
It's kind of true too, their Shoe, but also you should keep in mind that even the rich pedophiles that are in charge, they stay behind the scenes because they know that the Christian community is still in somewhat control of the United States. And if any president admits to being attracted to younger individuals, they will get scrutinized and they probably might be assassinated by, you know, the rich and powerful Christians, and that can be a, an issue, a threat to your life. So they keep their mouths shut because they don't want to be like was it JF Kennedy, basically.
Bezos built a rocket. When you're that rich and powerful, you don't have a soul anymore. You don't feel feelings anymore. The only way you get any sort of dopamine rush is when you shoot yourself into space or fuck children. Prostasia
Nah, I don't think that's true, but whatever.
Doesn't have a victim focus at all. All of their energy goes towards the normalization and the acceptance of pedophilia, hiding behind the left's language of social justice and the more libertarian rights language of free speech. They're basically just trying to hijack parts of every movement. So when I brought this up on Twitter, somebody who followed me was like, this is cancel culture. They were confused. They didn't understand why I was going on this witch hunt against an organization that was clearly, just trying to help people. So I've said this in other videos before, but I was one of those people that fell for this rhetoric. I believed it until I did more digging. You believe that there's good in everyone. You believe in rehabilitation. So do I. Tolerance is a great thing.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a line.
Yeah, that's true.
And this is the line.
Well, I feel like that's a line for you there, Shu, and not the line for other people is the issue. We all have lines of where we think people are savable, but eventually, we see people who cross the lines. I think the issue is that people have too many different opinions. And one of the problems with freedom, when you have different opinions that are allowed to exist, it does create a bit of chaos. And that's where people start to question, should freedom be allowed at that point, when it's just, because rather than having order, you have chaos instead of order. I don't know. I feel like the problem with that is that we're all human beings and therefore don't have the right to say to make a decision why freedom should be a thing or not. I feel like that's not our decision. I think something even bigger than us have to make that decision, and I'm afraid the government should not have that decision of that. But that's just me as part of my American beliefs. But whatever. I'm just not a Christian, and I may be American, but I'm not a Christian, so that's why I'm okay with, a child falling in love with an older adult. That's fine. That's okay. As long as no one gets hurt or killed or traumatized, we're good to go. But things can't be perfect.
Do not have to tolerate everything. Do not let these people take advantage of your kindness. That is the most serious I will ever be on this channel. But yeah, I just needed to talk about this.
That's not true, trust me.
Tax-exempted organization. So thank you guys for watching. If you would like to help support the channel and donate to my Patreon, that would be amazing. This video is most definitely demonetized. Understandably. And I appreciate the help from my patrons. I love you all.
Well, that'll be the end of this video. I've already set my opinion, so I don't really need to say anything else. I actually kind of enjoyed doing this particular reaction, but I get the feeling that a lot of people are going to disagree with me and going to hate me. But you know what? I'll do what I can to do responses, but if it's something that's too hateful sounding, I'm not going to respond. But anyways, please like and subscribe, and this is Erduku signing out.